a cheese melter. Oh, I will allow, let's see if I can see it. Got it. Okay. So this, you can buy this. It's called a cheese melter. And they sell these so that, say you're making pizza or say a cheeseburger, you put this over it while it's on the grill, and it helps the top hold heat over it so the top gets done. And I like, this is one little gizmo I like to use with the pizza. You don't have to buy this. You can also just use, I've seen people just use an old aluminum, you know, pie pan or a big lasagna pan, you know, some kind of disposable aluminum pan if you just want a cheap alternative. But this also was not expensive, and it's just a handy little thing to have. So while those guys are finishing up, I'm going to work on my pizza dough. So here is my dough. So yesterday I made this dough and I refrigerated it overnight. And the overnight pizza dough, I promise you, your pizza place that you go to is using overnight pizza dough. It's just the best way. It's a slow fermentation, and it makes it, gives it time to really fully hydrate the flour, not to get too technical, but, and the gluten forms on its own, so you don't have to knead. You just stir it up, put it in the fridge, boom. If you want to, you can make this a couple hours ahead of time and just use it that day also. But, so here is my dough. I'm going to divide this into 3 pieces by making a little peace sign. Can you see that? So I'm going to put a little flour on this cutting board, and I'm going to get my portions of dough, and I'm going to, so here's a portion of pizza dough, and I'm forming it into a round, just sort of tuck and turn, tuck and turn. And there is one pizza. So I'll put this over here, kind of pat it out. And the thing about pizza dough, thing about dough in general, is if it seems uptight, just let it relax. That is how gluten works. It's just like people. If it won't flow, just give it a little time, it will relax. So I'm going to put this one on there as well. Again, I'm using flour on this pan, and just tuck and turn, tuck and turn. Super easy, freehand. Not going to throw anything in the air, sorry. So while everything is going on, you can have these guys just sitting here relaxing, getting ready for their moment. And then I will check on, I've got a little water here to rinse my hand. Check on my vegetables again. So here we go. Hot stuff. Oh, they are looking good. I'll give you a little close up. See, they're getting some browning on there. You can see that. A little bit of browning on the vegetables. That's what we like. You can do that till you are satisfied with them. A few more minutes, since my pizza dough needs to relax. So the next thing I'm going to show you, if you only learn one thing today, is that, you know, after you scraped your grill, which I did before you got here, you have a nice clean grill grate. The best way to oil your grill is, I've got a little cup here with some, I'm just using avocado or canola oil, just your whatever your basic plain oil is. Oops. And I'm going to put in a little paper towel. And all this is so hot. So this is what I'm going to use to oil the grill. And this is a really great method because you don't want to be, you know, ruining your brushes or, you know, anything that doing anything like spraying the grill. Never, ever, ever, ever use a spray can to spray the grill, or you might blow up. So this is the best way. And then after this gets dirty, you just throw it away. So that's what we'll do when it's time for the pizza. And I've got everything ready to go. And then for my last little touch, I'm going to drizzle a little bit of this vegan ranch dressing. Now I could show you how to make all kinds of vegan cheese alternatives and that sort of thing, but this is quick and it's easy, and it's going to have that last sort of finishing touch where it's going to look a little cheesy, and people like that. And this is a good brand, but there are a bunch of brands. So a little bit of ranch on top. It's a nice little touch. So my dough is going to relax quickly because it's hot out. So you can see it's starting to relax. Just press it out a little bit. So when I go to form my final one, I have a sheet pan, and this is one that's just got a rim on one side. And I'm going to put oil on it. I've got some oil on there, and that's going to make it easier to get it on and off. So I'll put my relaxing dough, and I love that we're going to give up on the idea of perfection, right? This is going to be lumpy and bumpy, and that's the best, right? The last thing I want is something that looked like it came out of a factory. And I'm saying that in part because when I throw this on the grill, sometimes it comes out very much not round, but it's still delicious. And that is the most important thing. So I'm just stretching, doing it by hand. Pat, pat, pat. You know, and you can leave a little rim on it if you want. So here is some dough on the pan. So I will get I bet my vegetables are good and done. Woo, there they go. So here's my grilled vegetables. How delicious is that? Oh, that asparagus is perfect. So to do the pizza, this is the moment. I've got this side is turned down low. This side is still on high. That's going to give my pizza time to cook. Get that out of the way. And now I'm going to take the oiled paper towel and just rub this grate. Then in my 1 feet of daring do of the day, I'm going to just take this pizza dough and I'm going to throw it on the grill. There you go. Now some people like to, I'm going to put the cover over it, close the lid, and wait for 3 minutes. I'm going to actually set a timer so that I won't jump the gun. Now, some people like to put a stone on the grill. You can buy those. You can get like a brick, or I've got a metal one actually that is just a cast iron circle or a steel circle. There's all kinds of things like that. And what happens to mine, okay, I leave the steel one out and it gets all rusty, or it's just sort of a pain, to be honest. And I like, again, having minimal equipment. So I would just prefer to just throw it right on there. And as long as it's turned down low, you should be able to get your pizza done without it being burnt. And a little char is good. A little char is good. That's what we've all learned from the wood fire oven, right? So the other part is that you want to have your pizza be relatively thin. You saw that. I mean, I patted it out, so it's not cracker crust thin, but you definitely don't want too much thickness of the dough or too many toppings, because that's how you end up having to leave it on so long that that direct fire underneath will burn the bottom and leave the top undone. So
Robin?
Yes.
This is Patty. I have a question. I'm just wondering, so typically how long do you, and I suppose it depends on the size and the thickness of the pizza dough, but generally how long do you keep that on the grill? Average.
Right, so I'm gonna do this side for 3-4 minutes. Then I'm going to flip it, put the toppings on, and then cover it again for 4 to 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, great.
So it's real, it's fast. And so that's it. You've got to be ready with your, everybody's got to be ready to eat. And it's just, it's once you're all set up to go and you've got your dough and you've got your toppings. And again, I'm just doing this one topping, but you can do it with, I recommend like a very thick tomato sauce, instead, not one that's more sort of for pasta. You can even boil it a little bit if you want to thicken it down, or stir a little tomato paste in, or use some other thick sauce, and just so that you can spread it on about the same consistency as this pesto, and then just top it with vegetables, and you've got yourself a pizza. So there's lots of different ways to do it, but I really like doing the pesto. It's very flavorful and very creamy. And of course, you know, nuts and seeds are incredibly healthy for you. And they're a plant-based source of all kinds of minerals and good fats and nutrients and protein, which of course people always worry about, plant-based getting protein. So here comes the exciting part where we see how it's doing. Oh, this stuff is so hot. I'm gonna turn the dough over. So see how it's got grill marks? So moving quickly, we spread. So this is enough for 3 pizzas. So I'm going to spread a third of this pesto over the pizza. And I love it that the sun is hitting the pizza, so it's in the spotlight on the pizza. And then I'm going to put on a third of the vegetables. About, see, so look at all that color, eating the rainbow today. And then back on with the lid, and I'm going to set the timer for 4 minutes because things are just hot out here. So the grill is extra hot as well. So things are just booming right along. And the one rejoinder about all this too is I kind of waited to bring the pizza dough out, because if it were out in the hot sun sitting for an hour or two, it would get really, it would kind of blow up. The yeast would really rise a lot and it would get really soft and stretchy. And if that happens to you, you can just smash it back up and make it, just roll it back up again and kind of repeat the process. If your dough gets so sort of spread out that it's too stretched out. Let's see, here's our, yes.
So Robin, Nancy has a question in the chat, and she is asking you what temperature is the grill?
Right, so the grill is, this side is on high, these two are on high, and these are on low. My grill thermometer, which, you know, only takes the temperature at the very top of the grill, says it's 450 right now, which would be a really hot oven. So that way, you know, I don't have direct fire on the bottom of the pizza. These grill, you know, these burners over here are keeping it really hot. And I can tell you though, everybody's grill is different. This is the frustrating thing about writing recipes for the grill is, you know, I've cooked on other people's grills. I've cooked on some lovely, much more expensive grills than this. This is your under $300 grill I bought at Menards. And it's so hard to tell, you know, like, oh, if you heat it for this long and you do this and you do this, it's going to be this temperature. So you really have to just kind of eyeball it. But, you know, pizza's pretty straightforward. It's not, and nothing on this is going to be you know, it's not like eating a raw burger or something. So
Right.
you can pretty much tell how it's doing. And so if you were concerned and thought, oh no, maybe my pizza's gone too far, you can always just open it up and just sort of tip, you know, peek underneath. But
So,
since I've,
oh, I was just gonna say, so those grilling times may vary depending upon your grill.
they may vary. And again, I think my grill probably, I've been frustrated with it where I think sometimes it loses heat and it's probably not as hot as some other people's grills. And charcoal is a whole other animal. You know, people who grill on charcoal kind of have to get to know their grill and their charcoal. So the way to do this on a charcoal grill would be to, what you usually do is you start the whole fire on one side. So you know, it's called indirect grilling, where you have all the heat on one side. So you pile all that up. You can either start it in the bottom and then use something to shovel it over to one side, but a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. So just start the fire on one side, and that way you can do the pizza on the other side. And if the grill's kind of small, one suggestion for doing it so that it isn't over the fire is just stretch the pizza into an oval or make smaller pizzas so they can fit on the other side of the grill. So there's a lot of ways to do this. You know, and this you could really almost, you could do all kinds of things with this, you know, just make it into a flatbread, you know, put some herbs on it. And it's just a fun, again, luckily I'm not heating up the house, I'm heating up
Right.
the grill. And that's one of the reasons we like to cook outside so much, is that, you know, I am not turning the oven on today.
That's awesome. Chef, another question in the chat, and that question is, instead of using veggies, can you use meat on the pizza?
Oh, absolutely. You know, this is just, we're doing a, you know, the Eat More Plants plan. And I'm going to check on this. And you absolutely could, you know, but there's not time for it to cook, is the point. So like I cooked the veggies ahead of time. Oh, this pizza looks good. So I'm not putting anything raw on there. So here we have it. Here's our pizza. See how nice and golden brown it is all the way around. And I will put the lid down, and I'm going to cut the pizza on this table. I hope you can hear the sound of it. The maybe I'll do it. The crackle of that lovely crisp crust, the cutter going through it. But another way that I like to do the pizza out here too is to, I call it a salad pizza, which is to make a pizza like this and then just throw handfuls of greens on top. So here is the pizza. And so I'll show you there's the underside of it. I hope you can see that it's gotten nice and crispy and brown.
That
And
looks
then
beautiful.
for my little final topping, I will put the little drizzle of the ranch dressing on there. Oh, this is very thick. That's right, I forgot. So you do a little drizzle of that. Oh, I was going to try to be more Instagrammy, but there you go. So there you've got a creamy plant-based topping on a completely purely plant-based pizza. And I think everybody's going to want a piece of this, no matter what their diet style. So I can keep going if you'd like me to make another. I'm all ready
Sure.
to go.
Sure, please do.
I'll keep doing it. So here we go. We'll just throw another one on. And I've got it just ready to go. Nice and stretched out. So, oh, that one's not as round, but it'll be just as delicious. Cover that. And Set the timer for 3 minutes. And just keep on cranking. So here we go. It's all just downhill from here. Just all that. And so this can be a wonderful way to get outside and again, eat more plants, use up the produce from your garden or your farmer's market finds, just throw them in that grill wok. And again, make sure and get a grill wok. I love the grill wok. It's just, you can throw any vegetables in there and just stir them over high heat. And you've got yourself some lovely veggies. Now, another trick that I use, because I like having a gas grill, because I like knowing what time I can cook, what time I'm gonna eat, is you can get smoker chips. And so I get I get chips and I soak them. Here, I'm trying to move where I'm not in a shaft of sunlight. So I get cherry wood or mesquite wood chips. You soak those and you make a little packet, or I have a little steel box that you can put them in, and you put those wet chips, they have to be really soaked, into the box, and you put them on the hot side of the grill. And then you wait until they start to, you close the lid until it starts to smoke. And then you start cooking your veggies and things like that. And you put those in there and you close that lid, and the lid holds the smoke over it. And that's a great way to cook smoky, roasty vegetables. And also you could use it with the pizza, get a little bit more smoky flavor on the pizza. And I do tofu and tempeh that way. Make a smoky tofu, you just marinate it in some tamari, a little rice vinegar, and grill that with the smoke, and it just gives it that little extra oomph. I often talk when I'm cooking with plants about how to boost something called umami, and that's a buzzword. You may or may not have heard it. It's a Japanese word for a feeling of meatiness, and we know that there are certain chemicals which are in protein foods. A lot of them are amino acids, which are proteins. So we associate them with meat, but the same chemicals that cause that sensation in your mouth and in your brain are in plant foods as well. And so you can get umami from ripe tomatoes. You can get it from anything fermented. You can get it from any fermented protein, especially, so like soy sauce and miso. And you can also get it from smoke, interestingly. There's some umami in wine because it's fermented, vinegar. So if you learn how to harness those things, and actually some of the vegetables that are high in umami are mushrooms. That's why you often see mushrooms used as a meat substitute, because they're meaty. So, and we just, as human beings, have evolved to crave protein, and that is a flavor that signals protein deep within your consciousness. Now I'm going to do the flip.
Chef Robin, while you're doing the flip, Nancy has a question, and she is asking, what else do you use the cheese melting dome for when you're grilling?
Right. Well, any, you could, of course, use it for cheese melting, obviously, or anything where you want to, something thin, so that would be, I haven't really thought about it. Lots of different things you could do with it, I guess, but that's the main thing I do with it is if I were doing other breads, because you can do, again, the flat breads and things on the grill. And I mean, if I were really trying to get the vegetables done fast, I would put the dome over the vegetables. I did put them on there actually, to hold the heat in. So it's more sort of like roasting than just bottom heat. So it reflects it down and concentrates it.
Sure.
But it's a handy little tool. And actually sometimes I use it to cover the food just at the table so that flies won't get on it, right? That's always a problem outside. Or in my house, I have grabbed it to keep my cat from eating it.
Okay.
Surprise. I have a cat who
Um,
wants to eat my food, so.
Chef Robin, a couple questions from Tony. And one of the questions, he is asking a question that I was afraid to ask. But he wants to know if you have any suggestions for packaged pizza crust.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was kind of thinking along the lines because I'm not very good at making any type of breads and that sort of thing. So I was actually in my mind thinking about like a frozen pizza dough, but
Absolutely. No, I've written several articles where I really investigated ways of using frozen dough. And what I used was at Lunds and Byerly's, you can buy something called Rhodes brand frozen dough. And it comes in, you can buy a whole wheat one too. And it has pretty clean ingredients. When I first was investigating it, I was afraid, oh, I'm going to hate the ingredients in this stuff, but it is just pretty clean ingredients. And they have a whole wheat or white. And there's a 1 pound that makes a loaf. And the 1 pound, I would make maybe 2 pizzas out of that. So you just thaw those out in the fridge overnight. It's very handy though. I like buying the roll dough because each roll is an ounce and you can just thaw those out until they're nice and soft. And then you can mold them together, and make it into a mini pizza or, anything you want. Or actually I use them to make little calzones and things. So absolutely. I mean, this dough is so easy. It's just you just stir it up, knead it up, put it in the fridge.
Sure. What do you think about that? I've seen a packaged pizza crust. It's by Boboli, Boboli. Would that work on the grill as well?
Those kind of crusts are my dirty little secret. I do keep a pre-bake. I buy one that's a multi-grain, and there's also a cauliflower one, which is shockingly good for a cauliflower crust pizza. But I think what would happen on the grill, you've got to make sure it's just a little bit of stuff on there because they're already cooked. So being on that hot grill, you would definitely want to have, the dome on top so that your toppings, because you're going to basically put a cooked dough, they're already done. So just put that on the grill and just put a smear, a thin amount of toppings on there and cover it. And you should be able to get everything heated on top in 4 or 5 minutes, and hopefully the bottom wouldn't burn. But that would be my main concern with that. I have not tried those on the grill.
Great. Tony is also asking if you have some suggestions for vegan cheese alternatives.
Yes. Now I didn't, here's another second pizza. I didn't talk about that because, so here we go. There's another, I hope you can see the golden brown.
Yum.
Super golden brown and luscious crust.
Looks beautiful.
And there are a lot of those kind of pizzas around, those kind of cheeses. So I'm more fond of a more Whole Foods one that's made with, say, cashews and nut cheeses. So I'm much more like Miyoko. Miyoko has these beautiful cashew cheeses that are like a goat cheese. They're not as melty because they aren't full of the starch that makes them melt. But there are a whole bunch of, there's just a new one every day. I know a couple people actually who make them. And if you want to look on my website, I did a whole tasting of Miyoko's cheese with a friend of mine who is actually a nationally renowned cheese professional. And she really liked them. She gave me really good tasting notes. And it's the most read thing I've ever written on my blog. But the people are very big on Miyoko. She's got mozzarella and all those kinds of flavors, and also the Daya. I've got the dressing is from Daya. I'm not as crazy about that because when you start getting into making them that are melty, what they've done is they put a lot of tapioca starch in them. So I like making my own. I make my own, and if I had had 2 hours, I would have showed you how to make a cashew cream or a white sauce where you could use your own ingredients and you just soak raw cashews, puree it with just a little water, maybe a little vinegar or lemon juice, you know, and then you could just pour that over the pizza at the end and just get it hot, and it's really delicious.
Great. Thank you. Now we only have a couple more minutes, and there is a couple of questions that I want to ask you. Can you put a frozen pizza on the grill?
Wow, I've never tried it. Let's just put it that way. I would think that it would burn. So unless you had the grill on really low, but I would think that if you could, I would have heard about it by now. So
I wonder if you could just put it on a pizza stone, and then if you had the chips, it could maybe provide that smoky, you know, add a new dimension of kind of a smoky flavor.
that's true. If you had a stone and again, you had the heat under control, but you know, a pizza in the oven takes 15 minutes generally, you know, a frozen pizza. So, you know, and these, as you're seeing, these are taking 7-8 minutes on the outside. So it's going to go fast.
Okay.
So I would, again, make sure it's a thin pizza and see how it goes.
Sure. Sure. That sounds good. Nancy is asking the name of your website, and it looks like Ellie has responded. So your website is robinasbell.com.
That's right.
One more question from Nancy. Can you talk about the pros and cons of using a pizza stone in general, either on the grill or in the oven?
A pizza stone is a wonderful thing. And I've taught many, many classes about how to grill in the oven on a pizza stone. So the reason for a pizza stone is that just like with well, even more so with the grill, every time you open your oven, you lose 25 degrees, even if you just open it quick and shut it, right? So by heating up a stone, the stone itself is 400 to 450 degrees. So when you put the pizza on the stone, the heat comes up, which allows the yeast in the dough to continue to rise from the heat coming from below. And it's a nice even heat and it's a gentle heat. My father was a potter. And so, you know, there was fire brick everywhere. Everybody, you know, all kinds of things are better baked on brick, including ceramics. So that's why you do a stone. Now, when I do the class about that, I mean, we use a pizza peel and you put cornmeal under there and you do the, you know, the pizza move. And that's the tricky move. When you have, say, if you have a round stone on the grill, you're going to need a peel to, you know, drop it on there. And if you miss, you know, it goes in the fire. So, but it always is, it makes a great pizza. I mean, in college, I actually worked at a pizza place. And I also worked in a number of European bakeries. And all of us, we used, you know, professional ovens with brick in the bottom, where you just drop that loaf on there and it gave it a spring. You know, the bread or the pizza would rise up because of it. So that's the bonus of that.
Great, thank you. Well, I think that is all the time that we have for questions. I'll turn it over to Elise.
I think so. We've got some great questions that came into the chat box. Thank you, everybody, for making this fun and interactive and thinking up all your great questions. It was fun to be here and learn right along with you. That it looks so good, Chef Rob. It really does. I'm a sucker for pesto myself, and just the pizza looks phenomenal. The veggies look so great. But thank you, everybody. We recorded this session, and we are going to get a blog post up with some details about it, and we will post the video in case you want to replay it and check anything in the future. We will send you that link after we get the blog up with the video. But thank you so much for joining us, folks. We have a Lessons in Grilling Part 2 come next week, and we're going to be working with a beef scientist at the University of Minnesota on beef grilling come next week. And can't thank Chef Robin enough. She will be back in the future. We will be doing plenty more cooking with Chef Robin. So we hope everybody had tons of fun today, and we will see you soon at more events. And tons of thanks to Chef Robin once again.
Thank you all so much for coming. And again, eat more plants.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. That takes care of today's lessons in grilling with Chef Robin on pizza. Thanks so much again for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. Bye-bye, guys.